moderator this evening. I know there are other events scheduled for tonight, so thank you for coming to this meeting. This forum is also on Zoom and will be recorded and available on our website, LWVPullman.org. Spread the word. We begin every meeting with our nonpartisan statement, and our president this year in Lee will read that.
Hello everyone, my name is Allie Walsh, the president of the League of Women Voters of Pullman this year. The League acts in support of or in opposition to selected governmental issues which its members have studied. It does not support or oppose candidates, factions, or political parties. League members as individuals are urged to work in the political party of their choice. To protect the League's nonpartisanship policy, guidelines regarding the political activities of the Board of Directors are reviewed frequently. The League of Women Voters of Pullman is fully committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion in principle and practice. These concepts are central to our current and future success in engaging all individuals, households, communities, and policymakers in creating a more perfect democracy. We acknowledge and honor the first people of the Palouse region and their descendants, including our neighbors, the Nez Perce, Colville, and Coeur d'Alene tribes. Thank you.
Thank you. We have some housekeeping. This is to remind you that the library closes at 7, but the restrooms will be open and available. Just can't do any other library business. So. I'm going to switch things around. I have a couple announcements. As you noticed in the paper, I said there'll be 3, Ward 1, Ward 3, and at-large will be present. As you can tell, only candidates from Ward 3 and the at-large position are present. I have been informed, not by the candidate, but I have been informed that Dan Marr is not running for Ward 1. He did not formally withdraw, so his name will appear on the ballot. So just a heads up for everybody. Ann Parks was planning on coming, but she had an emergency and asked me to read a statement for her tonight. So I'll do that now. Good evening. I would like to thank the League of Women Voters for holding this forum tonight and for all of you and for all of the work they do to educate and engage in voters. I'm so sorry I am unable to be here tonight. I am down with an unexpected medical issue. The League has graciously invited me to submit a short statement to be read. When my husband and I came here 30 years ago with our newborn child for 1 year visiting professor position, we quickly realized this is where we wanted to stay and raise our family. Over the years, I have been involved in volunteer work throughout the community, which allowed me to meet many people in our community. When the opportunity to run for city council arose in 2015, I decided to run because I wanted to learn more about our city and do more for our residents. In the ensuing 8 years, I have learned so much about our city and our residents and how to help residents with problems or questions they have, like getting to know our staff and working with them in a collaborative way. My priorities are to see through the downtown project so our downtown can be more accessible and pleasant place for our residents and visitors in which to spend time. To continue to work to find common ground among people with a diverse set of interests, and to work with our state legislators to come up with funding for a bypass. I will also continue to create and maintain a good working relationship with our city staff and the new mayor. Thank you. I love serving on the council and would appreciate your vote in November. She also says if you have questions you want to ask her, please email her. And her email address is annparks2023@gmail.com. If you need it, please see me later. begin, we are going to review how we do things. We ask that you write your questions on the cards on your seats. You can ask as many questions as you want. Just hold them up. They will be collected and you get a new card. When done, the cards are brought forward to this table where the sorters make sure that they're legible, which means big print for me, and that multiple questions on the same topic are combined, so we don't ask over and over and over again the same question. So you may not hear actual questions you wrote. They will be paraphrased or shortened. Hopefully, you won't be too, I won't miss it. We won't miss the point of the question. For courtesy's sake, and I haven't done this either, please silence or turn off your phones. So we will begin with opening remarks. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for opening remarks. We will begin with Ward 3 candidate C.J. Roberts.
Hi there, everybody. Is that too loud? Everybody can hear me? Perfect. Hi, my name is C.J. Robert is the correct pronunciation. It's all good. It's French. I used to be Voidovich, which no one actually could actually pronounce, and I still get to correct everybody. So it's all good though. But all you have to think of is a little rowing and a little bear, right? So I'm an Austin transplant. I moved here back in 2011 from Austin, Texas. I was a very, very green Texan, that's for sure. But when I moved here, I fell in love with WSU. I ended up getting 2 degrees from WSU, both in kinesiology and pre-med. I was also lucky enough to be a WSU athlete. I used to row for Washington State University. Before WSU, I dabbled in being a paramedic. I used to work as an EMT / about 10 hours away from graduating as a paramedic, but dedicated a lot of my time to doing that. And then I also volunteered for local humane societies back on the west side of Seattle area. That was my 3 years was over there before I moved over here. Anywho, working with animals, and so I volunteered for training TSA dogs, which is the name. But I ended up moving here, falling in love with Pullman, and ended up opening up multiple businesses here. So since 2013, I have owned businesses. Now I own 3 on Main Street, Pullman, and I also am just passionate about Pullman. I, again, put my money where my mouth is, and I'm constantly trying to advocate for downtown businesses and for the continued growth of Pullman. So, yeah. Hi.
Okay, Pat. We do not clap at forums. No booing, no yelling, or anything, so yes. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. It's my honor and privilege to be with you tonight, and I thank the League of Women Voters for organizing and hosting this candidates forum, and more specifically in everything they do to encourage all to take part in our democracy. I would like to share a little bit about myself. As you know, I am Pat Wright, and I have lived in Pullman since 1975 with my husband Ray, a retired professor of animal sciences at LWV. We arrived in Pullman sight unseen in August of that year, right after harvest, and thought maybe this would be okay for a couple of years. Typical comment for people coming in here, particularly in August in those days. Those revitalizing city boards and commissions to encourage more active involvement from our residents. I work tirelessly to ensure that city staff and all volunteers are treated with trust and respect. Without these two groups of people, it would not be possible to succeed on any level. We have an outstanding staff of subject matter experts who provide answers and perspective to many questions that might come up. And having been a long-time volunteer in a variety of different roles, I know all too well what that level of contribution and commitment means to the success of any organization, and they are all to be celebrated, including tonight's League of Women Voters in making this event possible. Thank you all.
Eric?
Hi, everybody. My name is Eric Bajarin. Pullman has been my home for roughly about 15 years now, and some of you might know me in my role as Executive Director of United Way of Whitman County. I was there that we were able to bring Dolly Parton's Imagination Library to Palouse. Yay, free books. And but currently I serve as Federal Pell Grant Coordinator for Washington State University. And I'm here today not just as a candidate, but also as a fellow community member who shares your thoughts, concerns, and hopes for our beloved city of Pullman. And as a community member, I've had lots of conversations about Pullman, as I'm sure a lot of people on this stage has as well. And there seems to be a common theme that runs through all those conversations. There is a gap. There is a gap between us, the people of Pullman, and our elected representatives. And this campaign is about bridging that gap. We're not going to bridge that gap with campaign promises that are going to be fulfilled after we get elected. We're filling that gap with tangible actions right now. Tangible actions like having an advocacy panel that helps support this campaign on a variety of different issues. We have advocacy panels that have subject matter experts in the areas of senior issues, low-income housing, downtown Pullman, and we also leverage these panels to put on community forums. I see some familiar faces in the audience that were there at our community forum on Monday. We had Nick, who's the owner of Black Cypress, and Chef at Black Cypress there to talk about his thoughts and concerns about the downtown Pullman project. But folks, when it gets down to brass tacks, this campaign is rooted in the belief that our answers lie within you, the people of Pullman. I can't promise that I'll have all the answers or that we'll agree on everything, but I can promise that you will have a voice. And so thank you for being here, and I look forward to the conversation.
Thank you, Holly. Thank you. Thank you again for holding this event for us to have an opportunity to connect with our community. My name is Holly Greystone. I have met many of you who are here tonight. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to be here. It shows that you guys care, and I know that there are many more on Zoom as well. So thank you all for tuning in and catching this very important conversation, and that is the future of Pullman. I've been out here for 15 years in this area. I transferred here after I graduated East Washington University with a bachelor's in biology and chemistry. I pursued a degree in master's in project management and graduated with honors. So I'm a certified PB, so I understand when we talk about these projects, project downtown, how important it is to have good contracts, good communication, not only with our contractors, not only with our city officials, but our residents. Our residents need to know exactly what's going on with any and all construction projects and anything that our government is doing with our money and how we're investing that for the future of our community. And as a project manager, those are things that I look at in detail and ask really good questions. I don't pretend to have all the answers and sound like I might because I ask questions. Often I get those questions from you. When I meet with you guys one-on-one at coffee shops or out on a walk, when I have those conversations with you, I learn a lot about what our community is missing, and the biggest thing that we're missing is clear communication from our government to you and back and forth. And I aim to build those relationships and have those conversations. I'm doing that now, and I will continue to do that regardless if I am elected to this position, because it is vital for the growth of our community to have those conversations. Amongst that, my wife and I, who's here today, thank you for being here, honey. We bought the Honda building in downtown because we believe investing and putting our money where our mouth is, much of what CJ was saying, and understanding that revitalizing our historic buildings and not having vacant buildings is key to helping revitalize our community. So thank you again so much for being here. I appreciate it, and I look forward to hearing from you guys today. Thank you. We'll now begin the questions.
huge responsibility, number one. I think that as a city council member, we should be the actual funnel of between the community and city government. I agree 100% with what Holly said, is that that has been lacking severely in the last decade or so. At least I know the entire time that I've been here, it's been that way. I hope to be able to bridge that gap and be able to be a loud voice for the citizens of Pullman, whether that be through using new technology like AI and integrating that into helping out our government and making it streamline a lot faster, or being able to advocate for things that the citizens in the community want. And those that know me know that I am a loud bulldog when it comes to making sure that things get done. And when I say stuff will get done, you can guarantee I'm going to put 150% into it. Not 110, 150.
Thank you, Pat.
Thank you. So as most of you know, I have been on city council since 2008, and in that time I have learned so much about how a city operates and how important our role is in terms of making policy, following through on that policy, and making sure that all of what we do is understood by our constituents. What people oftentimes don't understand is that we are bound by certain regulations that are either imposed by the state or the federal government, and we have to work together as a body to get through some of that bureaucracy. And I can tell you that from a council standpoint, we get as frustrated as all of you do with the bureaucracy, both locally, because we have our own bureaucracy locally, through the county, through the state, and of course through the federal government. And so one just needs to learn how to work through that bureaucracy and try to navigate it so that we can be the best representatives that we can be for our constituents. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I think plain and simple, how I see as our job as city council is we're a voice for the community. I think plain and simple, and I think that especially this past year over some situations that people feel that their voice has not been heard as much as it should have. And this campaign is committed to making your voice heard and bridging that gap between the people of Pullman through that bureaucracy and eventually to stuff that actually happens on council. So I did talk about a little bit about those community forums that we're putting on. This campaign also participates in bi-weekly shop talks, either over a beer at Rico's or over a coffee at Neil's, and it's every other Sunday from 3:30 to 5 o'clock. We invite the community to come in and have a conversation about the important issues that matter to you, and that's just one way that I can make your voice heard as a city council member. And I'm committed to continuing these advocacy efforts even after I get elected to make sure that your voice is heard throughout the year.
Holly? Thank you. That's a good question. It's important for us to understand what our role is. It's not just to push our own agenda. I was talking to someone earlier about, oh yeah, this is your website, these are your 3 points that you're really focused on, these are your passion, these are your things you want to do. Yes, and what you want, what you need, what you see in our community is important, that is communicated to your city and to what we've already heard up here, Pat talk about regulations and talking about all these things that we have to follow as a city. It's important to understand what those things are and to communicate that to you clearly back and forth. I'm committed to doing that, even if yet not elected or elected. I plan to be a big voice for our community. I'm the type of person that gets it done. I will ask the questions. I will find the people who know what they need to do or know more information about a project to make sure that we're getting this done and getting that communicated to you. Our job is to listen to you and work for you and be a good steward of both the information and the funding that comes into our systems here. Thank you. Thank you. We'll start with Pat this time. What do you see as the biggest issue Pullman is currently facing?
Oh my goodness. Just give me an easy question. Obviously, our biggest issue is the downtown project for a right now that infrastructure is indeed, not to bring up this bad word, but is indeed entangled with the trees that we have lining Main Street because they are starting to impede businesses' operations along Main Street. I know of 3 right now who have been severely impacted by tree roots in their sewer systems. And that is a really, really serious problem, and it's a catastrophe waiting to happen if that gets much worse. And we just continue to hold our breath in terms of how we can go forward with that. So that would be my biggest issue.
Eric?
Okay, we're about to have these going. Biggest issue, yeah, in under a minute. Well, definitely this past month, I don't want to repeat anything that Pat said, but I do feel like it is downtown. People feel like this is a once-in-a-lifetime shot, and I do want to applaud the shot for an infrastructure project of this magnitude in downtown, and I want to applaud the current city council. I feel like they've definitely done their fair share of listening to the concerns of the community and having to give her a different decision. Just in broader terms, I think downtown is what is the bigger long-term vision of Pullman that definitely goes beyond downtown. I think that something that we definitely need to connect with the community over. WSU, higher education enrollment's down, Pac-12 now to the Pac-2. We're going to have to think of what Pullman is going to look like in the next 5 to 10 years. And I think I would love to help craft that vision of Pullman with the community. And so that's what I feel like is the biggest issue in Pullman right now.
Oh, thank you. 1 minute is not enough time to answer a question of this magnitude by any means. The downtown project is important, and I do feel our city could have done a better job early on listening. That being said, it is a big project to undertake and try to get everything going. We get it. We've had these conversations. But that's a short-term problem. Our long-term is housing, accessibility, transportation, resurfacing our roads, finding the appropriate funding for that, supporting our city staff to facilitate those things. So as much as I want to say, yes, the downtown project is huge and it's important, it is. But we have other long-term things that we need to be addressing, and housing affordability and accessibility is key. And looking at how we want our community to look like, as Eric was just saying, what is the long-term vision of what we want our community to look like in 10, 15, and 20 years from now? And the downtown project is going to be done within the next 2 years, if not sooner, right? But what about our housing? What about accessibility to food? What about our education? What about transportation for our students to and from the school? Crosswalks, accessibility, lighting, so that our students can get to and from their home safely. Thank you. EJ.
Yeah, agreed. A minute is not enough. I would say the biggest issue, of course, is the downtown project, but more overarching of that is the downtown master plan. The master plan was, again, put together in the Pullman 2040, and that really highlighted all of these key issues that everyone has now stated. I think that really trying to push for grants and getting grant money from the multiple available infrastructure grants, Safe Streets for All, etc. All of those grants can help build a better Pullman and see the master plan through. And I think that, of course, with the downtown project, I appreciate you saying that the original communication between that project, as originally it was sold to the greater community as just redoing the sidewalks. I'm sure we've all figured out that that is not the case, and this is not a big beautification project. But of course, trying to make sure that our downtown survives this project as well. So,
Thank you. That's Eric. What specific initiatives or strategies do you propose to enhance the economic growth, cultural vibrancy, and overall development of Pullman?
Promoting Pullman. I mean, I think the downtown Pullman project master plan has a lot to do with it. So as city council members, we're going to have to work with the community in order to make that happen. And, we talked about this before, but I feel like people's voices just are
mind repeating it? Okay. Let me paraphrase a little bit. Do you have a specific initiative or strategy proposed to enhance the economic growth, cultural vibrancy, and overall development of Pullman? I think the biggest thing to address it is the bypass. Really pushing for a bypass. As much as we can do all these improvements in downtown, and we do need them, and I'm fully in support of it, but all that noise, all that traffic that's going through downtown, only 13% of those people are actually stopping and going into our businesses. So 13% of 10,000 is still 13% of 1,000. Like, it's just only so many people are going to stop in so much time that they're coming through. Having a bypass is going to be critical to enhance and to take advantage of these improvements, this infrastructure and beautification, but also giving our businesses a chance to actually grow and develop. We have a lot of vacant buildings downtown, and businesses are more likely to go into and establish themselves if it is a viable option. You don't have tons of traffic going through, trucks taking out your traffic lights, or idling at the intersections so loud that you can't enjoy a conversation outside of Rico's or any other restaurant. So my first thing is to work with the Department of Transportation and the surrounding community members and the groups that have already started this discussion. I've been a part of it now for the last year, and will continue to be a part of that conversation. Thank you.
Okay. My specific initiatives would be, of course, pressuring legislatures to actually sit there and fork over the money for the bypass. I have been a big proponent against, or not proponent, whatever, a loud voice in trying to understand and put pressure on the current city council to attempt to find why we are paying for repaving a state highway, why we're dedicating $6 million of this project to repaving a state highway. I do not think that should be have left on the Pullman citizens' shoulders, and would have ended up doing the entire point of the project, would have, which was beautifying downtown, would have saved us $6 million for us to be able to do that. On top of that, I would organize community members throughout this process. I've got to meet amazing people that are incredibly interested in seeing Pullman become what it was intended to be for the Pullman 2040 project. And being able to organize all of these amazing people and individuals that know far more than I do is pretty much my wheelhouse. I love getting people together and making sure that they can get stuff done, and helping them. Pat.
So I too would voice that the bypass is probably the initial strategy that we have to utilize in order to recover, recruit, retain the businesses that we have downtown. And we are working with, and we have been working with and pressuring our legislators into listening to what we need with this downtown bypass. There were two options that were on the table starting as, well, one option at least as early as 1976. And some of you remember perhaps the Bridge to Nowhere. Well, the Bridge to Nowhere now ends up at Schweitzer Engineering and then kind of goes out beyond there. And that was an initial idea to divert traffic from downtown. The other option that has been considered, and it supposedly is not a viable option right now, but it continues to be talked about, and that's the South Bypass, to which I know that we do have the support of at least one of our legislators, and working in concert with the county as a strategic partner in that. We can't do it alone. It's going to take $80 to $90 million at the very minimum to consider a bypass and all the things that are involved in creating that, from design, conceptual images, and then the actual work in finding a location. So it's bigger than a bread box, really, if you don't want to put it into those kind of grassroots terms. So that indeed is my number one initial strategy as well. Yes.
Holly. impacts do you see from WSU's athletic conference situation?
It's a tough question. Communities like ours across the world have both the college or even, college, university, whatever, right? We have a student body and then we have our community that surrounds that, right? To me, I see them as one and the same. When our students come here, they are residents. They live here, they register to vote, they are very much a community member as anyone else is here, right? Student athletes, although I love them and have been a student athlete myself, this is a thing that was going to happen at some point. We have to diversify who we are as a community and not just be Cougs. I love our Cougs and I will support every single one of them. If financially possible, I would do that. I think it's going to be a huge impact on us financially, and we have to look at other ways to diversify, even if we do see some positive changes coming from that. My heart goes out to each and every one of those students and what they're going through and how hard they have worked to get here, to get to this part of their career and have it impacted by something like this. It's really unfortunate, and if there's anything that we can do, I hope that we have that opportunity to show up for our students.
Speaking as one of the many, or a business owner in downtown, I actually am not really that scared of this, of the merger. And the reason being is I think that there's been a large following of Cougs, and being a Coug is a serious deal. And there's people literally coming back here to Pullman to retire here in Pullman. As everyone, as the motto states, we all find our way back home. So I don't think that the Pac-12 disseminating or whatever ends up happening with it is really going to affect the overall scheme of things. I think that the universities will find a new conference to go into. Will it affect us in the small run? Absolutely. Not gonna lie, it probably will. But I don't think it's this grandiose, scary thing that everyone keeps insinuating that this will be, and that we're gonna, end up not having a whole ton of funds. We're gonna not have all of these real effects. I think that again, the university has a solid plan, and I think that they'll make sure that they're not going to lose one.
So I would agree with what PJ just mentioned, and that is that regardless of what conference we end up in, we still have our Cougar fan base that will continue to bring the economy into Pullman. Cougars travel very well, and they will come just for the novelty of different teams that haven't been here in the past. And I'm sure that that's some excitement around all of this building. I think that
Here.
okay, here we go. Sorry. That works much better. I think that we will not see the level of impact on the economy that we will see as it pertains mainly to the student athletes. I think that's our biggest issue with this. And, football, basketball will survive. It's the other sports that may have a problem in surviving, and I agree that I think we need to do whatever we can to mitigate the effects on those student athletes. It affects them all. Eric?
Yeah, I'm going to stray a little bit from the previous answers because I believe that, competency to get us to where we are right now in terms of the athletic conference. I feel like putting millions of dollars in the hole doesn't shout competency to me. So that's just my thoughts. But it is going to impact the community, and I feel like, I don't want to take away from anything CJ or anybody else said, but I feel like Cougs do have a really strong following, and we are going to support our community through this. However, I think this
strategies do you have to get the city and WSU working together? Does WSU grow, does Pullman grow with or without WSU?
Well, I absolutely think that WSU and Pullman should be working together. I have said this since day one. We are first and foremost a college town. That's what put us on the map, period. That is undeniable. So, having this very, especially having experience as a business owner in downtown, it has been for, I would say, the past decade, this idea that there's WSU and then there's Pullman. And I think that's a mistake. I think that we should be trying to find to bridge the gap between WSU and downtown and the rest of the community. The way that WSU has currently set up everything is that they've kept everything on campus and they've made everything about being on campus. And I think, again, trying to figure out ways, whether that be through grants, making this beautification process and going through with the master plan, I think that that is what is going to do that. And that be through making sure that there's safe avenues for people to get from Pullman or from WSU campus down to downtown, whether that be through bike paths, lit avenues, making that the boardwalk a really nice hangout area, etc. But anyway, I could go on long about it, but I think that's how we should do it, and Pullman and WSU should be working together.
Thank you. So since I've been here, I've seen a number of iterations of the relationship between Pullman and WSU. And they've been both good and not so good, and sometimes even not so good. And then I think currently, though, we have the best relationship that we have had, at least in my tenure here in Pullman. Under the auspices of WSU, we have formed a town gown collaborative where we have ongoing conversations with different groups at WSU in terms of how can they engage their students better to work with us downtown. There's a Center for Civic Engagement on campus that is very involved in this collaborative, as well as the transportation services that are always coming up with different ways of getting people from the Hill downtown, and how can we work with them better to do that. They're reaching out to us all the time to be in that conversation. And I agree. I used to be the manager at the bookie, and so I know what it's like to have that competition between student dollars on campus and student dollars in town. And I think we have a lot of opportunity there to get better with that. And we have to capitalize on the resources that we have also on campus. And if some of you are interested, I would suggest that you look at the Gateway Project, which was a capstone project for engineering, architecture, and apparel merchandise and interior design, who came up with some unbelievable concepts of how to join the two entities. So I would suggest that you look at that. It's really enlightening. So thank you. Sorry for going over.
No, the question is about WSU and Pullman.
Yeah, what kind of
Yeah.
strategies do you have to get the city and the WSU working together towards a better future?
Awesome, yeah. Then, really, I feel like there's no WSU without Pullman, no Pullman without WSU. And so, a couple things that have already been mentioned, the Town and Gown Project, Pullman 2040, seeking areas that students and community members can work together in crafting a vision for Pullman. I'm somebody who feels like if we want to involve a group or something in crafting a vision for the future, we need to come to them. So we need to go, we need to show up on campus, we need to go to the community groups, the Young Republicans, Young Democrats, Young Libertarians, or what other Crimson group. They have so many ROs up there, but I'm definitely look forward to going on campus and speaking to every single one of them. One thing that I would like to say too is that this campaign is endorsed by WSU CASE, Coalition of Academic Student Employees. I encourage everybody in this room to log in, go to check out their cause. They're currently bargaining for fair wages for the fair time that they're putting in, as well as a proper health care package for them and their families. And so I'm definitely proud to be endorsed by WSU CASE.
Thank you. That's a good question. I'm pretty much going to echo what you've already heard here. We are a town that has a college, and the college has a town. And the key things here for me are my time spent with the Downtown Pullman Association, which is an initiative between the city and WSU financially, as well as the time that they have volunteered and the resources that both parties have volunteered to seeing the success of a revitalized downtown. Downtown isn't just for the people who live here and work here, but it's also for our students. Our students are our community members as well. And building what CJ has said is trails that are lit and paved, beautiful and accessible to our students, but also e-bikes and scooters. I don't know about you guys, I'm not a fan of walking up all these hills in the middle of the night, okay? Having options to get on and off the hill safely is important. And going to the students and talking to them and finding out ways to help engage them in our community and vice versa is huge. And there's a lot of opportunity to do that through the Downtown Pullman Association, which is also supported by the Town Gown and the 2040 group. So we do have these conversations going on, both with the mayor currently and the president at the university. It is the effort of us continuing to encourage that relationship and finding ways to build that relationship going forward.
Thank you. We're going to start with Pat this time around, and I'm going to switch gears. Are you ready? How do murals enhance growth? Is it helpful to become known as a center for murals, to become known for more than football?
Great question, and it's very apropos to the event that took place today with the dedication and unveiling, if you will, of the Riverside mural. It's absolutely stunning, and I was so taken with how different groups came together to put that up, given the amount of time that they had to do it. It was just absolutely amazing. One of the things that we would like to do is, first of all, before you look at what we can do as far as an art center would be, you have to kind of take an inventory of the art that we do have, and then look at where maybe some gaps are and how we can engage everyone in the community to get more active in that. And I think that's very important, and that has the great potential of making Pullman a destination location, not just for football or the sports or some of the entertainment activities that we've been known for over the years, but for something other than that. And I think that Riverside mural is a great start, and I think it only has the possibility of getting better. So.
Yeah, I can't wait. I was at work until a little late tonight in the dark, so I can't wait until tomorrow morning to walk and see that beautiful mural that was finalized today. But I want to say yes to the question, is that murals. We have so much local talent that we can capitalize on. Local artists that live here in Pullman, as well as the talent that's at WSU. And so absolutely, let's utilize our community and make it an art center that everybody can enjoy. But beyond just murals, definitely Pullman is more than murals. In my vision, I really want it to be a place of trails, and a component of that is rail banking, the railroads that we have right now. So yeah, please, if you're unfamiliar with rail banking or Rails to Trails, I encourage everybody to go take a look at it. But I definitely feel that murals, along with things like that, and great trails, can definitely make sure that Pullman goes beyond just a place for sports and football.
Thank you. In downtown, we have somewhere between 11 to 15 murals. We have a couple up at Gladish. We have on the Greystone building, we have the Rainbow Dragon. It was been named by our community. We have a number of murals across our community just in downtown alone. Art brings everyone together. We all can look at the same tree and draw a picture using the same medium and create something completely different because we have unique perspectives. And having art that we can engage on brings us together. It brings people together from Moscow to Colfax, Pullman, Coeur d'Alene, our community members that are coming in for our sporting events or anything dealing with our university or Schweitzer Engineering. They come and walk our trails, they engage in our community, and they stop and they look at these beautiful pieces of art. They take pictures and they share that. Art brings people together. It tells a story about who we are, and we have a shared experience. Even if that experience isn't in that moment together, it is over time. And that's what art does. That's what murals do. But we also have statues and other things on display throughout our community. And we have a lot of people in this area that are artistically talented. And being able to support them is an amazing endeavor. Just think about how much we had to do during COVID. Art brought us together and kept us together. If it wasn't for art, we wouldn't have been able to stay connected or sane. So.
CJ.
Yeah, I mean, ditto on what everybody said. But we are aesthetic creatures. Human beings very much rely on our eyes, and we, as someone who literally has one of the murals downtown in our business, I have the greetings from Pullman that me and our staff went and put up, and yeah, absolutely, we have to have more art in downtown to aesthetically make downtown and the rest of the town aesthetically pleasing. It, again, yeah, absolutely draws people in. It challenges people's views on certain things sometimes, depending on what type of art it is. It begins those conversations. And I think being able to have those and utilize those, and again, bring the community in, like the Civic Trust, all of the amazing artists that have been working here in Pullman, that the Black Lives Matter mural that went up, you know, these are all incredibly important things that we should continue to try and foster and find ways that we can integrate those throughout downtown and throughout the city of Pullman, because that's what's going to bring more people here.
Okay, unfortunately, Eric anticipated this next question, and you get to start.
Oh, wow, lucky.
All rail corridors are state-owned and used for rail purposes. Will you support rail banking so they can be used and enjoyed by the residents?
Yes. No. Yeah, it's funny that I answered that question previously, but you know, folks, the city of Pullman is just one stakeholder in the whole Colfax, Albion, Palouse, and from my understanding, and again, I said this at the beginning, I'm not somebody who has all the answers, but I am able to come look for them, and so I am lucky enough to have our local expert who I've talked to many times about the issues regarding rail banking and the Colfax, Albion, Palouse Trail. And a lot of it is that we need our legislators' support. The 9th Legislative District, we have 3 representatives, and unfortunately, all of them have different opinions on the value of rail banking. But something that and so before I move on to that, we were talking about activism. If you want to see Colfax, Albion, Palouse Trail, please write to your legislators, Mark Schleschler, Mary Dye, and Joe Schmidt. And so please write to them, and let's make this happen. But first, we can focus on Pullman and making sure those Pullman railroads get used onto great trails that we can use to incorporate downtown and make sure students are able to come to downtown as well.
Thank you. Echo really what Eric has said here. Having to work with our legislators can be a challenge, and writing to them is going to be key if you want to see those changes happen. And also, having worked with many people on this topic, both at the state level as well as in our city government, trying to get things done and that crosses boundaries, we need to have our state legislators on board to make that happen. And a big push is going to be everyone from this community, as many of you as possible, reaching out to them and talking to them and saying, this is a need that we have, this is something that we want. When our community was developed, trains were put on the most flat surfaces in our community. We are 4 hills. The trains go literally through our only flattish areas of our community. And we can easily take that back. The city can go ahead and develop that, and the state can give a 1-year notice if they're gonna take it back and turn it back into railroads if they want to. But we have the capability, the want and the drive to make that happen, and there's no reason why we cannot have that. We just have to keep pushing with our legislators and work with them to make it happen. So obviously I support doing it.
Yeah, ditto again, yeah. So this is where I shine. I obviously own businesses. I have to organize probably about 27 people right now, and they're students, locals, etc. And I love being able to take everybody's opinions, everybody's ideas, and figure out how to get them done, right? Because organizing and being able to organize everybody, get everybody's input, get it either whether that's through surveys, whether that be through signatures, etc. We have to go and put those in and get our legislatures to pay attention. And that is one thing that I can definitely do, which I get people to pay attention. And again, trying to get all of that info and make sure that all of that information is relayed to those legislators.
I'll do a double ditto on pretty much what everybody has said, because it is indeed correct. And we have been having to rely on our legislators to get the rail banking outside of Pullman. We've got support within Pullman, but there's some issues going towards the Colfax end. I can remember a time when we didn't even have a Chipman Trail. And so our trail system has truly become one of our community gems and assets. And it has grown so much from different demographics in terms of, you've heard Pedal the Palouse. That has become a nationwide theme for people coming here as a destination to use our trails with bikes. We can only enhance that further if we're able to get beyond those boundaries of Pullman. And I think all of you are absolutely correct. That has to stay in the forefront of those legislators' minds and horizons. And I think one of the ways that we can hopefully help to get more of their attention is to have them understand what the true benefits are of the rail banking system. And I don't think they understand that. I think we need to get a unified voice to drive that forward. So that's where I would stand on that.
Thank you. Holly will start this time. Lately, it hasn't felt all that safe in the greater Pullman area. What strategies will you have to make Pullman safe again?
This has been a growing concern for me. I used to be a dispatcher, so on the west side. A lot more people, a lot more things that happen. The more people you have, the more problems that can happen too. And I have concerns with our community safety as well, and supporting our fire department, our EMTs, our police, our leadership, building communities together on all 4 hills, providing the support for that, having an emergency plan in place. These are all things that we can be doing. And how do you address the growing concern of violence or depression or suicide? It starts by building a community, and we can do that just in our 4 hills, and we can do that by leading by example. Our city council could lead by example, our police and fire, our churches, our university. We could do this at our workplace. We could do this in every environment that we are in, and we can encourage people to do that and support them in doing that. It is a larger issue that can't be answered in 1 minute, and it is a larger conversation that I would love to have with the individual that asked that question tonight. I'd like to know specifically what you're talking about and see what we can do to find more information about that so you can feel safe and secure.
I would have to echo that building upon the community is probably one of my biggest strategies for this. I think that because of the lack of communication and kind of the way that things have played out over the last couple years, I think that having a strategy for building that sense of community again, and that comes through communication top and foremost. Getting to know your neighbors, getting to know everyone around you, etc. That is the way that we can do that, whether that be through community groups, whether that be through the kind of, what am I thinking, oh my gosh, I can't remember the name of the, yeah, the block parties. Thank you, my brain. Sorry, I've been working since 6:30 this morning, so. But yeah, block parties, using Nextdoor, using technology to really create and build that sense of trust again between our neighbors and the town and the community and all of that. As well as, I used to be an EMT. Of course, I support all of making sure that the fire department is heavily staffed, because they are short-staffed right now, so that would be one of my top priorities, as well as the police department. They are also short-staffed, so finding strategies, talking with the people that know best about this, and being able to, again, emphasize communication and create strategies and put everybody's heads together.
So again, I would concur. I would also suggest that we get to know our public safety agencies as well. And I know the fire department welcomes any visits from any members of the community, and police do as well. And all you have to do is go to a 4th of July celebration in Sunnyside Park and see the outreach that occurs through those events to kids, to little ones, to get them involved in the positive side of policing and fire, and make them have an ambition to join in those public safety kinds of jobs. And over the last few years, as you referenced, there's been a turn down in the number of people that have been interested in getting into public safety jobs, as well as how we embrace the people in those jobs. And so I think we're seeing part of that downturn as a result of that, and hopefully coming back into a recovery mode. But I think it's important to get to know those agencies as well, because they are also some of our gems and the assets in this community.
Sure.
Yeah, safety is incredibly important, and I might share some folks' in the audience opinions is that at least this past year in Pullman, we've had quite a number of more incidents regarding mental health and safety than previously. And I've only been in Pullman for 15 years. So definitely supporting our folks in the field, our police, firefighters, making sure that they have the adequate tools and stuff in order to do their job, but also possibly finding funding for somebody to assist with mental health issues in the police department. A lot of this crime and jeopardized safety concerns might stem from just somebody who has a mental illness or is just not in the right minds, and that requires a different set of skills in order to de-escalate that. And so, then speaking more broadly on mental health issues, I feel like a lot of people are feeling it. They feel like the world is burning down. There's so many things to keep track of that it's just taking a tremendous toll on our mental health. So please, folks in the audience, if you have somebody you haven't heard of, or talk to a friend you haven't heard of, please reach out to make sure that they're okay, especially if they're a senior and they don't have that social group in order to support them.
Okay, CJ, you'll start with this one. This is a real specific one. The idea of better lighting on trails and streets hits home as I walk regularly, and at times when it's dark out. What can the city do to improve lighting for example, the city playfields, to support community members staying active?
Well, this is where having a grant writer would come in handy. And luckily, we actually did get a grant writer, I believe, right? Yeah, they just got hired. So this is where grant writing comes into play. Better Streets for All, Safe Streets for All, those are all big programs that just were introduced last year. We're talking close to, I think it was like $10 trillion or $12 trillion, not trillion, sorry, $1 billion. Not trillion, $1 billion, yeah. That is out there. And because of how small Pullman is and unique situation that we are in, because of lack of lighting, the fact that we don't have it in a lot of places, we are showing a need for all of these things. It means that we are great candidates to get these grants. And being able to find them and have a task force, that is kind of one of my biggest things. I would like to put a task force together to help the new grant writer to find all of these grants, because it's not going to be just one person that is going to be able to find all of them. I think being able to get the community involved and have the university help would be amazing to be able to accomplish getting all of these lighting updates that we really do need.
So I think to let everyone know what currently is being done with lighting, College Hill Matters is a committee or a group that has been formed from the Town Gown Collaborative. And it is peopled by the College Hill Association people, by Transportation and Safety at WSU, the City of Pullman, and Avista. And I know quarterly, at least, they do a lighting audit where they go around mainly College Hill to identify where the deficits are in terms of lighting and what they need to do to fill those gaps. My thinking going through and listening to especially CJ's comments is that that would be a good place to start and integrate something similar on all of the hills, not just College Hill. Even though College Hill has the greatest density of people that are walking at night and into the darker lit areas, but I think it's something that we can incorporate again through the hills, and I think that would be widely attended by our residents. So that would be my suggestion on that.
Great, I'm glad to hear that there's already somebody work being done on making our lights and pathways a lot brighter. This is a timely question because I routinely ride my bike to work, and I was riding down the trail that goes off of past Grand and past Jack in the Box all the way to SEL, and it was probably about 6 or 7 p.m. It's getting pretty dark now. It is pitch black. I have a light on my phone and my bike, but there was a gentleman who was just standing right there in the middle of the road. I don't know what he was doing, but I almost hit him. And so that was, it's not also, it's a safety concern for everybody involved, not having adequate lighting. And so I'm definitely happy that we have a grant writer that can probably help us secure some lighting for our streets. And then also, if you're riding your bike and if you're riding after the sun goes down, make sure you have proper lighting equipment on your bike. We have great bike stores, 3 Forks and one's downtown, and they would be glad to help you hook up some lighting equipment on your bicycle. So it's definitely a safety issue, and I'll definitely be making sure that our streets and pathways are lit properly.
Thank you. I actually had to write my thoughts down on this one because I want to make sure I hit them all for you guys. The question being, what would we do as City Council to address the issue, because it is an issue. Working with Avista, WSU, are opportunities that we can engage our community. Working and taking the example of the College Hill Association that Pat Wright had already talked about. They also have a program for taking care of the trees and trimming the trees back so that the light from these, they're called Cobra lights, can actually cast all the way down to the sidewalk. So looking on that and building on that model and going back to that community mindset on the 4 hills, if we have these community associations on all 4 hills that are working together to identify, hey, I got a light out, call Avista. hey, you have an old style light, you can switch it out to LED, it casts a better light. Those things can be upgraded. That's something that we did with our building at the Greystone Gallery. We had some old lights. We had one that was out, and we had two that were old. And we have people that go back and forth to those restaurants. It's not our responsibility, right? But it is. It's our responsibility to look out for each other. And so getting those lights replaced is key, but also working with these communities, organizations that are already addressing the lighting issue is a great place to pivot to how we can address this on a broader issue. Thank you.
Who started that time? Okay. Pat, that means you start this time. How is Pullman working to increase environmental resilience in the face of climate change?
Okay. 60 seconds. Yeah, 60 seconds,
I know.
exactly. So, a number of years ago, we being the city of Pullman, engaged with the Citizens Climate Lobby in forming a group that finally has been brought together. It's the Environmental Resiliency Committee. It's made up of a number of Pullman residents, and it's important to note that we are taking the lead in a number of issues with that, from conservation. I think you saw this summer where we initiated an irrigation compliance program where if you lived on the odd side of the street, you watered on certain days. If you lived on the even side of the street, you did that on certain days. We also have a variety of other things available through the city that people can acquire to help with that resiliency aspect. How do you trade out your toilets and get, better, more conservationally conscious toilets to work? How do you set timers on your watering? Rebates on a number of things, from xeriscaping to taking your lawns out. We had a presentation the other day from the Phoenix Conservancy in terms of taking out part of lawns and putting in what they're calling prairie pods or prairie packets, which I think is just an absolutely amazing idea. I had no idea that was even something that was available, and it can be in as small a garden plot as you might have, with bedding plants. And so that's another way that we can add to some of those things that are already in place.
And just to repeat the question, it was about green energy.
How is
sustainability.
Pullman working to increase environmental resiliency?
Thank you. Yeah, I feel like Pullman is a leader in this area, definitely in terms of moving away from fossil fuels and more environment conscious ways of energy. We have great system buses, few of them that run on electric, and I would like to see that grow. A lot of folks pride themselves in driving electric vehicles, but the flip side of that is that we need charging stations. We need a way in order to fuel those up, and so I have a neighbor who's very should I say ambitious, and he actually reached out to his personal landlord to see if he can put in a charging station for his electric vehicle, and the landlord is actually thinking about it. So maybe we can empower some local folks and landlords in order to put charging stations in their parking lots, but that's just one way. I feel like Pullman definitely is leading this area, but we could also have a long way to go. I definitely want to give a shout out, Pat already did, to the Citizens Climate Lobby. It's so important that we work together this on a bipartisan basis, because I feel like there's just a lot of fear in how this transition to green energy is going to change things, but I see nothing but opportunity.
I echo that. Being able to learn about these technologies and addressing these concerns are going to be paramount going forward. And yes, having our water, metering that and conserving our water is great. Looking at low flow toilets is great. But how do you educate a community? You have to communicate, right? Communication is not notification. It's educating people and teaching them about what those incentives are, those tax credits that are available, and teaching people how they can access that. I'm a big fan of the shrub set community, which is the prairie, which is much what Pat Wright was just talking about from, you said it was the Phoenix Conservancy. Great resource for learning about what you can do about converting your lawn. I would love to see our city work on maybe an incentive package to encourage people to do that and say, hey, if you do this, here's some tax credits, or here's a benefit, or here's some sort of award, or something that helps both educate and get the information out there, but also achieve the desired result. This also goes to help our bugs. I love our bugs. And we need more diversity instead of green lawns. So that's how I feel about it. Thank you.
Man, you stole the words right out of my mouth, Holly. Yeah, communication, 100%. Thank you for telling us about that. I had no idea that there was a meeting about this, because it would have been really important for us to be able to do that. Agreed, as well as the xeriscaping initiative. My husband actually worked as a horticulturist here in Pullman, and so it's near and dear topic to my heart. Which again, yes, the bugs, don't break all the leaves, please. They need them, okay? Anyway, also, as someone who owns all electric cars, I very much agree that we need to really start investing in our green energy and finding ways that we can integrate that throughout Pullman and Palouse, because as someone who owns electric cars, there's only 3 spots that you can charge them here in Pullman, 2 of which are very expensive and are almost more expensive than what Seattle charges for their stuff. And even ones that the city put in via grants are charging a ridiculous amount. But anyway, I'm hoping to change that. I'm hoping to make sure that we look again for those green energy grants. There's a whole bunch of ones that just came up and just came out, again, trying to help the grant writer. And again, communication, making sure that our citizens know about all of these initiatives and all of these grants that are available, and or tax incentives, etc.
Thank you. What are some of the ways Pullman is trying to bridge the gap between the town and local indigenous communities? And that will be Eric starting. Or is Pullman trying to bridge a gap between the town and the local indigenous communities?
Yeah, and this is definitely a subject matter I could definitely learn more about. So if anybody in the audience is very knowledgeable on this issue, please come to me, and you can keep me informed on this issue. But I think the fact of the matter is that no matter what we do, it's probably never enough, right? And I know that WSU makes quite an effort for whenever they have public meetings to give recognition to our native tribes who were here way long before us, and I think that we can continue to do that. We also need, I mentioned this before, we need to meet them where they are at. We cannot expect members of our community to come to us in order for us to gain an understanding about their culture, their issues, their stuff that they're doing that is so separate from you and I or anybody else's lives. We do need to come to them, and so that's what this campaign is about. Going to the the people who make this town as great as it can be.
Holly, thank you. We can never do enough to recognize what has been done, and I don't think we've done enough in communicating. I can't speak on behalf of the indigenous people because I'm not indigenous, so I don't know if that communication has been enough. But as someone who is not part of that community, I don't feel like it is enough. And I think that's something that we can learn a lot more about. And I would also like to be able to have that conversation as well. And local art and artists and supporting them is a great way to teach our community as well, and to honor the people who own this land, who were here first. And again, we can't go back and change what's happened. We can never undo what has happened, but we can honor the people. We can honor their memories, and we can build something going forward. And learning from each other in that process is going to be key. But it's going to come down to good communication, and I don't think that's been happening.
Well, I have to admit, I am actually really ignorant on this topic. I don't know. As someone who has lived here for 10 years, the fact that I actually don't have any info or that much info about our indigenous people here should be kind of evidence to itself that there isn't enough communication going on. The fact that I have not heard of the history of indigenous people here. And that, again, speaks volumes to the fact that I don't think that Pullman has actively tried to bridge that gap in any sense of the word. I think that, you know, as someone who has owned 3 businesses here, I should know about that, but I don't. And that makes me really sad. And I look forward to being able to have those conversations and to be able to fight for our citizens and be the mouth for our citizens.
Like everyone has said, I think a lot of it has to do with education and understanding who the people are that were here before us, and that we all live on ceded land, that's C-E-D-E-D land, from the Nimipu, as far as we mentioned earlier, the Colville tribe, the Kalispel, it goes all the way up the northwest. And it is a fascinating history, but one that the indigenous people have always come out on the tail end of. They've never really benefited from what they had and what was ceded to us. And I think it's something that we continually need to be made aware of and that we need to respect. From an actual standpoint, we have a gentleman whose name is Julian Matthews, who actually is part of the Nimipu tribe, who is on the Pullman Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors. I know that he would be absolutely more than willing to come and talk to any group, or go to classrooms, go to anywhere that people would like to have that information. And there is actually a representative in the President Chilton's office. Her name is Zoe High Eagle Strong, and she is the liaison between the university and the indigenous people in the area. And having talked with her as well, I know that she would be very willing to reach out and start the conversation and start the process in terms of what can we do to get better educated and to become more aware of what those issues are.
Oh, okay. I lost track. I'm sorry. This will be the last question, and then we'll do closing remarks. What do you think makes Pullman special? Who started that last time? Okay, so Holly.
I really appreciate this question. What makes Pullman special is its people. It's us. When people come and visit us, they fall in love with who we are. We've heard a couple of stories about how people have moved away and they've come back, or they come to college and they end up staying here. They raise their families here, they retire here. We've had people who donated to the mural that we have right on the backside of Thomas Hammer. There was a gentleman who immigrated here and a Pullman family supported him. And they reached out and said, hey, we're doing this project, and without question donated $5,000 towards that mural. That is family, that is community, that is the people that make Pullman great. This is home, and this is one of the friendliest places in Washington State, but I would argue anywhere in the country. I love this place. This is my home, and we put down roots here, and we look forward to growing old here. So Pullman is its people.
Well, through the downtown project, I've been able to, again, meet so many amazing community members that are absolutely and thoroughly invested in this town. And it just speaks volumes that there are so many people actively trying to do what's best for Pullman. I, again, came from Austin, Texas, have moved all across the country. My husband was a military brat. I bounced around from all the way from Florida to Texas to here. And when I graduated here and took classes here, I absolutely fell in love with this town. It is like no other town that you've ever been to. And again, it all comes down to what Holly reiterated, which is the community. It's the people that really make it. And the fact that we're so passionate, the fact that we're all sitting here involved and trying to get to the point where we want to see Pullman. That is fantastic. That is exactly what makes Pullman special.
She likes that way.
I don't have to get right on top of it. As I mentioned in my opening remarks, we thought 2 years was going to be the maximum stay here in Pullman because after harvest, I thought we landed on the moon. It was just like, really? And we're going to be here for 2 years? And here we are 48 years later. But I will say the same thing that has been already said. We were literally adopted by the people that lived around us. And that right away made Pullman absolutely special. When I first started working here in Pullman, I actually worked in Moscow. And coming from California, I couldn't drive in the snow. It just scared me to death. So our next door neighbor, every day, would take me all the way to Moscow and pick me up in the afternoon so that I wouldn't have to make that drive. And you don't find that everywhere. And that's what starts that bonding, that endearing quality of Pullman, and it just continues to grow. And I think part of that has to do with, not to sound trite, but paying it forward. I mean, that was done for me, so I then am willing to do that for someone else. And that indeed is what makes Pullman special, as well as our great educational system, our access to health care, and just again, the people that just make it absolutely the best place ever.
See, people, and people, my gosh. People is what makes Pullman just incredibly special. I just want to echo everything that everybody has said before. As a member of the LGBT community, you sometimes hear that we have to make our own family, and I've definitely found my family here in Pullman. I love going to the many weekly trivia sets that we have all throughout Pullman. That means there's one for every day of the week. We choose Trailside Brewery. Don't make fun of us, but our team name is LGBT Cuties. But just rooting yourself with people who you can call family every week is what makes Pullman special to me. And just on top of everything, our school system, our views, the beautiful canola fields that we have in the summer. Oh my gosh, I look forward to that every year. Just Pullman gets A+ across the board, and this is why I've decided to call Pullman home.
Okay, we will now do closing remarks, and we'll start with CJ.
I start every time. Oh gosh. All right, well, honestly guys, I never thought I would be sitting here in front of you guys today having a chance of being able to represent the amazing community of Pullman. Honestly, I wanted to run because I have a unique set of skills. One, and first and foremost, being that I own businesses. I have a business-like mind. I look at things in a very logical sense. And once I get my mind to it, it does not matter what I have to do, how much work or energy, effort, and sometimes to my own detriment, I get it done. You know, once I say I'm going to get it done, I do everything that in my power to make sure that it does get done. I look forward to being able to take all of your input, utilize the fact that I can market. I love using AI and being able to use and utilize technology as much as possible to make our lives easier. And a big reiteration that we've had throughout tonight has been the lack of communication that the city of Pullman has continued to have. And again, my expertise is a perfect niche for this because being able to create websites, to do marketing, to be able to utilize technology again to the utmost is what is going to put Pullman here into the future. And I think that I have a good, decent head on my shoulders, and at least to know who, and easily have the ability to be able to go talk to who I need to ask the right questions and get the right people on the topics that need to be addressed. Again, one of those being downtown and making sure the downtown project gets done in the way that it should get done, and making sure that we save our trees is a big thing, or finding ways that we can save as many trees as possible. Really trying to push for a redesign of the downtown corridor, whether that be through the bike lanes, landscaping plan, etc. But yeah, I look forward to taking all of your input and hearing from you and being your mouthpiece to make sure that we have an amazing Pullman.
I would just like to say that I bring experience, balance, and leadership, as has been demonstrated over the last 15 years of my service to the city and the residents of Pullman. My involvement in many community organizations, including the Pullman Chamber of Commerce, the Pullman United Way, Pullman Education Foundation, Pullman Regional Hospital Foundation and Auxiliary, and currently with the Innovia Community Foundation, speaks for itself in describing my commitment to Pullman, along with the many fundraising efforts within these organizations that have helped make Pullman a better place to live, work, and do business. I work with my colleagues on council to build consensus in our decision-making and to create a cohesive foundation in which to work. We have been faced with a variety of challenges over the years, which have been overcome amicably and never without considering the overall impact on our community. As has been said, I have no agenda in my decision-making, only in doing my best to make the right decisions for the right reasons. Pullman continues to grow in more ways than one, as we have already identified here tonight, and we need to steward that growth in a positive, inclusive, and impactful way. My record reflects my commitment to Pullman, having lived here since 1975, my commitment to action in service to nonprofit community organizations and community stakeholders, as well as being a liaison between the city and these groups, and my commitment to community by helping to make and keep Pullman safe, welcoming, and inclusive for all. It has been a privilege for me to serve for almost 16 years. Pullman is on the cusp, as we have also discussed, of being something quite special, and it is my hope to see that journey to greatness come to fruition. Thank you for your confidence in me, for what I have done, and all that I hope to accomplish for Pullman in the future. And once again, my thanks to the League of Women Voters in hosting this event tonight, and thank you all for your time in participating in this event. Thank you.
Thank you. In closing, I just want to thank everybody in the audience as well as the League for putting on this and an opportunity to discuss all the issues, the many issues that Pullman is facing right now. And also, well done to everybody on stage. It doesn't get easier with all these eyes looking at you. I had butterflies in my stomach the whole time, and I've done this a few times as well, and speak in front of an audience. It just never gets easier, but thank you all for being patient with us. And at the beginning, I talked about this gap between us, the people of Pullman, and our elected representatives. And that gap has a tendency to breed discontent, has a tendency to bring apathy. And you know, when I was talking about how Pullman is special to me, I didn't use those two words in describing Pullman. So we definitely have some work to do. A couple of things that this campaign is doing in order to bridge that gap. We have our bi-weekly shop talks that take place at Neil's Coffee. It's from 3:30 to 5 o'clock. Our next one's not this Sunday, but it is going to be next. I invite everybody who wants to learn more about this campaign, wants to meet me. I definitely want to meet you. Definitely want to extend that invitation to everybody here. I mentioned also earlier, we'll be having a community forum here at Neal Public Library in the Hecht Room next Wednesday, and that's going to be from 5:15 to 6:45. We'll be talking about Rails to Trails and the CAP project. And so that's a little bit about what this campaign's doing in order to bridge that gap between us, the people of Pullman, and our elected representatives. And it is my promise to you that you will have a voice with my campaign. And I will promise that I will continue to do these advocacy efforts even after that I have been elected. And I hope to work with everybody in this room in order to restore a sense of ownership over the policies that govern our day-to-day lives. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. I want to express my gratitude to every one of you for being here today and showing your support and love for our community, for everyone who's attended on Zoom and will catch this later. I appreciate the passion that we have for our community. We've heard a lot of that today from all of the candidates about our passion, about our people, about our community, areas that we have concerns. We are growing, we are becoming a bigger city over time, and with that are other things that we need to be able to address. And I firmly believe that addressing that through our diversity, through the diversity of our language and our culture, from our students to the people who come here to retire, to raise their family, listening to their voices, listening to their concerns and their solutions is key to who I am as a person and echoing the concerns that you have, but also finding solutions. I might have an idea, but you may have a better idea. And that is key as to who I am. I know CJ had mentioned that earlier about get it done. I have a different way of saying that, but it's not appropriate in this forum. I have an Instagram, it does say it all right there for you. It's who I am, it's at the core of who I am, and I get it done. And if I can't do it, I will look for other people who can help get it done. And if they can't get it done, I'll find someone else who can get it done. It's obvium invasium investium. I will find a way or make a way. That is who I am, and that is what we need in our city leadership. We need people that are going to find a way or make a way. And the way we're going to do that is by working together as a community. If you want to come and learn some more about my campaign, I do have a meeting tomorrow from 4 to 6 at 335 Northwest Dillon, Dillon, obviously here in Pullman. Please come. We will have some refreshments. I would love to talk to you more one-on-one. I would like to learn a little bit more about some of the questions that were asked tonight. So I encourage you to do that. Otherwise, you can reach out to my campaign, which is info@greystone4pullman.org, and that's the number 4. And thank you again to the League of Women Voters for hosting this event today and for all of the candidates being here. And for all of you for answering your questions and engaging in this very vital process of our government. Thank you.
I would like to thank all of the candidates for participating and everyone who attended and all of these questions. There's a pile I didn't even get to, but I will save them, and if the candidates are interested, I'll send them to you.
Please do, please.
Okay? Before we adjourn, I would like to remind everyone there's still time to register if you haven't. The deadline to register to vote is October 30th. That's by mail or email. You can register up to and including Election Day, but you have to go to the election office in Colfax. Ballots will be mailed on the 20th. Well, they'll start mailing on the 20th. The voter pamphlets are out. The reason the state one is so skinny is it just has election information. There are no state issues or candidates. But Whitman County has a lot going for it. Okay, the election, well, Election Day is November 7th. You have to have your ballots mailed, postmarked, or in a drop box by 8 p.m. You can also go and vote in person at a polling place. There are 2 in Whitman County. The election office in Colfax, which has, well, both of them have assistance for disabilities. And the other one is at WSU, second floor ballroom of the Cub. You can register to vote and get your ballot right in the same time.
That's awesome.
So,
One more thing about mailing. If you're mailing it in, it has to be postmarked by 5 p.m. on election day.
Oh.
The post office does not work this way.
okay, yes, okay, thank you. There are 4 drop boxes in Pullman. There's the ones on Paradise Street, the one at the parking lot in Rosars, and there are 2 up on campus. One by the by the Cub, the north side entrance, and one at the Chinook Student Center. So there's that information. Please do not forget to sign your ballot. You would be amazed how often that happens.
And the way that you did it on your.
Yes, and make sure you don't, if you print it on your driver's license or your official signature, don't all of a sudden use cursive. If you have any questions, feel free to contact the league about registering or voting. This is what we're here to help you with. And I would like to thank you all again for coming, and please vote. This is only one of 3. Next Wednesday, we will be doing the mayor's race, and Deb is sitting there watching us. Well, not now, but yeah. And that's October 18th. It will be at 6:30. And on Friday, the 20th, we'll have the school board. And that starts at 6 because the library closes at 6. So please attend and learn more. Thank you.
Doesn't have a cat.